Today on the table I brought you the CZ P07 Tactical and the SIG P226. So you're probably wondering, why these two models? Why use SIG? Why a P07 Tactical? Why not a regular P07? Well, that answer's simple. It's because these are the firearms I have on hand. Specs. The CZ is a longer firearm. They're pretty similar in width. Height without a mag. The SIG is a taller firearm. Weight, they're pretty close, but the SIG is a heavier firearm, and that's to be expected. This has an aluminum frame. You will see a price split of about $66. The CZ P07 Tactical is about $66 more than the used SIG. Now the capacity on the CZ is higher. And they're practically the exact same size mag. The CZ is just a touch taller. A lot of that does have to do though with the fact that the SIG is a 40 cal and this is a 9mm. Now there are advantages with going with the CZ instead of a police trade-in model. Like for example, this firearm is brand new. And you do get a lot of cool stuff when you purchase the firearm. You get a second magazine, 2 back straps, gun lock, owner's manual, and a pretty respectable case. And the night sights still work. The SIG's night sights have long given up the ghost. Now when you purchase a SIG, whatever shape it comes in is questionable because it's used. This particular one came with an aftermarket case, 3 magazines, and a really crappy gun lock. Now, the magazine quality of 2 of the magazines is fine. Alright, so all the magazines come from Metgar. It came with 3 magazines, 2 have a parked finish, very nice, and then this crappy one. They are superior to the CZ mag. Not this crappy SIG mag, but the parked ones, they have a better finish on it. The follower looks like a harder plastic. Both do have anti-tilt followers. Now, like I was saying, they are the exact same size, but they use some sort of eBay modification on the CZ mag to expand the capacity. If it did not have this modification on it, it would be 15+1, and the SIG would be 12+1, but then the SIG would be a longer magazine. With the eBay modification on it, it's 17+1, and they're basically the exact same size. So there are advantages with going with the CZ or getting the SIG in 9mm. But now if you were to get the SIG in 9mm, it's going to be drastically more expensive. The biggest reason this is so cheap is because it's 40, and 40 just isn't a popular caliber right now. Trying to sell a 40 cal is tough. We've had like 3 of them in the shop, and they were without a doubt the longest firearms it took us to sell. I ordered this particular one, well, 1 because a friend talked me into it. 2 because the price is just that affordable. This comes in at 1/3 of what a new SIG would cost. Yeah, it's 40, but it would be like having a Desert Eagle in 357 that I got really cheap. Yeah, it's not the desirable caliber for a Desert Eagle, but because of the price factor and how cheap it is, I can still sell it. Now you can convert this over to 357. I believe you can convert this over also to 9, but I think the 9, like it's lighter, it has a smaller frame. I haven't done a whole lot of research on it. So like taking a 40 to a 9 doesn't really make sense because you're not getting a lot of the advantages. Plus, you might as well just stay with 40 at that point because then you're adding cost and it's not a lighter firearm. Now you can convert this to the SIG 357, which is pretty cool, and that does fit in the original magazines. That's awesome. It's kind of an unusual round, but it don't matter. Because of the lack of 40's popularity, that's also an unusual round. So why not go with something that looks cool? Or you can just buy this exactly the way it is and have this as more of a collector's item. The odds of this ever becoming a collector's item is so incredibly rare. This is not a CZ75. This just lives off of the CZ75's glory. I've held both the CZ75 and this. They are not even close to the same animal. The CZ75 is superior in like almost every single way. This is just a wannabe CZ75 trying to rake in money off the CZ75's glory. It's the only way to say it. Ergonomics. This has a non-circumcised slide, so it's horrible. I mean, the ergos just suck when it comes to trying to rack this slide. You have very little surface area to grab on. Then they did the decocker, and they did the slide release in the wrong spot. These two should be switched around. Trying to hit your slide release from your normal shooting position, completely not possible. You got to shift the firearm, hit the slide release. Then if you want to use the decocker, it's right there. Now say, for example, you get crazy with the slide release and you come down too far and decock it. That's also a problem. Not cool. Even the mag release, I got to twist the firearm to hit it. The mag release itself, I mean, I guess I can hit it if I really try at it. It's not quite as bad as I'm explaining, but I'm just not happy with it, so it's hard not to almost overdo it. SIG's ergonomics, slide release, exactly where it needs to be. Decocker, exactly where it needs to be. I can manipulate all the controls without moving my hand. That's ideal. Teardown of the firearm, the CZ sucks. You gotta, I'll see if I can show this on camera. There's a little mark right here. You have to line up these two marks, and you have to push this through, pull this out, so then you have a piece floating around, and take it down. SIG, slide lock to the rear, lever gets pushed down, slide comes off. Very nice. Now this particular CZ is the tactical model. It's got a threaded barrel, so you're supposed to be able to put a silencer on there. I strongly recommend you do not silence this firearm because it has a non-circumcised frame, or slide I should say. This is sealed up all the way across. And you do get blowback from a silencer. There's no getting around it. The only place for it to exit is right here. So what? You're going to get a bunch of crap in your face. You're going to feel like a yogurt grenade just went off in front of you. Now the SIG, it is sealed up pretty good too. You do have a full length rail, but there is a space right here for gases to vent. I doubt that's what it was actually made for, but you will vent some of that off, so you're not going to get quite as much in the face. This would be a much more desirable firearm to silence. Sights, like I said, the SIGs, it had nights on it, but they've long given up the ghost. These are about the perfect height. I really like them. Because when you go to like a tactical sight, these are so tall. When you bring it up, it's very easy to lose your front sight. This is just so fat. So then you gotta either start bringing it up with the firearm slightly canted and kind of do something like that. This way you know where it is, because if you like go straight in, like for a second there I had lost the sight and I had to move my head around and find the sight, and then I could do it. The SIG, like when you push forward, no matter what, you can always see that front sight. Yeah, you could have it hide behind this, but it'd be extremely unlikely. And then just a slight adjustment of your head and you'd be able to find it. Without a doubt, shooting at some sort of like shot clock or timed event or something like that, I will be much faster with these shorter sights. The CZ does have an accessory rail, so you could mount like a tack light or something on there. You can get these with accessory rails, even trade-in models, but it does bring the price up about $50. And to be honest, because of the age of this was made in 2000, I like it exactly the way it is. It's just got this nice look to it. CZ, like, obviously, this does have a polymer frame. And it does make it lighter. Kind of brings it into more of a modern age. The polymer frames take damage, I feel, a little bit better than the aluminum ones. Like this one, you can see chipping on it. Now this particular one, it says the frame was made in Germany, but the German slides are supposed to be a two-piece slide that's welded together, and then the slides look totally different, like they're just cut different. You can identify them pretty easily. This one does not look like a German slide at all. I could be wrong on that, but it does look like the whole thing is milled out. I believe this is an American style or American made slide on a German frame. Trigger brake. P07, single action. Brake's alright, nothing to frown at. Double action. Very heavy pull, very long. It would be really hard for me to get an accurate shot in double action mode. Reset. Pretty long. A wall. Quite a bit of creep and a brake. 226. Single action. Far superior over the CZ. Double action. A lot lighter. Much easier to get an accurate shot. Far superior over the CZ. Reset. Nice and short, and then there's free space. Come to a wall. And then a snap. Much better reset. Without a doubt, I would be more accurate with the 226 over the P07. Now, this is a trade-in model, so it's been heavily broken in. This may improve over time. I don't know. And if you're left-handed because you want to be more like your man Barack Obama...
Thank you. I'm very proud of what you've done.
The SIG is not left-handed friendly at all. Slide release and decocker are only set up for a right-handed shooter. Yeah, you could function this left-handed, but it would be extremely tough. Not ideal. You have to work your pointer finger right there to decock it, and you'd have to do slingshots for your slide release. CZ is a little bit better for left-handed shooters. Yeah, your slide release is only on for a right-handed shooter. This might be able to actually be switched. I'll see if I can find something on the internet, because it does kind of look like this can be pushed out and switched over, but I don't know that for a fact. Like I said, I'll look into it more. But even if it can't be switched, you know, you just pop in a fresh magazine, you can do the slingshot. Decocker, exactly where it needs to be for a left-handed shooter. The slide is the mag is also notched on both sides, and the mag release does look convertible. So if you're left-handed, without a doubt, I do believe the CZ is a better pick for you.
Obama out.
The CZ, like I said, you do get changeable back straps so you can adjust the size. The SIG is an older style. You can actually take this grip off though and change it out. That's pretty cool. I definitely like the trigger brake on the SIG much better than the CZ. Like I was just saying though, it could break in with time. Now which one would I pick? The P07 or the SIG? Well, a lot of the advantages to the P07 is the fact that this is a new firearm, and this is coming in barely over the cost. If you were to get like the non-tactical model, it would probably come in at the exact same cost as a used SIG. You get an accessory rail for a light. It's lighter. SIG runs a very high bore axis. Oh, that's something I want to touch on too. Because this has a non-circumcised slide does not mean it has a low bore axis. As a matter of fact, I'd have to double check the measurements, but Glock has a lower bore axis than the CZ. SIG, unfortunately, runs a very high bore axis, so it does actually have a lower bore axis than the SIG. But recoil comes from obviously how high you can get your hand up and the mass that the slide is. No matter what, this is a pretty heavy slide, so you're going to get some felt recoil. Is it going to be drastically better than the SIG? Will it even be noticeable? That's something you'll have to test out for yourself. Obviously, this is a 40 cal, so no matter what, it's going to feel different. Another advantage to this is the night sights still work. The biggest disadvantage to that is these night sights are the wrong color. They're all the same color. Especially with these taller sights, it would be very easy, like let's say you hit your light, okay, there's something out there and you're coming back around, your heart's racing, you know, you make mistakes. If for whatever reason your head isn't far enough behind the sights, you might mistake this front sight for one of your back sights. So now you come out, you go to take a shot, and you completely miss the target because you're assuming this back sight is your front sight, throwing your shots off. Advantages to the SIG, this is basically a collector's item. And if I don't care about collector's items, I could revamp this. I could throw on night sights, that haven't bit the ghost that still work. I could change this to SIG 357, change out grips, modify it in any way I want. It's not that big of a deal because it's not that expensive of a firearm. Would I go and buy a brand new 226 and modify it? No way. Those are way too expensive. If you spend that much on a gun, you better like it exactly the way it is. Because buying an expensive gun and then changing stuff on it is just not intelligent. You might as well buy a model that they make of that particular one. This way you're not adding cost on top of it. Or buying a totally different firearm altogether if there's anything at all you are unhappy with around a $1,000 gun. Why would you spend $1,000 on a firearm that you're not happy with? It makes no sense. You spend $1,000 on a firearm that's set up exactly the way you want it, where you want to change absolutely nothing about it. So it's really cool that these are so cheap because you can modify them. Or you can just buy it and leave it exactly the way it is, and this is a snapshot of 2000.
Now don't you wanna grow up to be just like me?
It gives you a piece of history, and then the wear on it just looks amazing. There's actually people out there that pay companies to put wear on their firearms. I don't know why they don't just use them a bunch and put on their own wear, but for whatever reason they like firearms that are worn. And I get that. It's got this special look to it. It's a feel to it. Wear looks awesome. You buy this and the wear is already there, and you're not spending on a company putting it on there for you. None of the wear is mechanically threatening. There's no wear on here that's going to affect the function of the firearms. But just check it out on the barrel, the guide rod, right there. It barely, you can see 40 Smith & Wesson. There's wear on the sights. And these have a nice 90 on the sights too, which is great for if you want to rack it off your clothes or belt. The SIG, they are tall enough to where you can still rack it off your clothes, but it's not ideal because they're canted like that. But the 90 on the front and that does work pretty good. I always screw up these two buttons. The SIG, you only get one option, or two options. You can go hammer back, round in the chamber, or hammer down decocked, which is obviously what everyone's going to run. The CZ does give you one extra option. Oh, where is it? Should have pulled this out ahead of time. Anyway, you can change this out to just be a safety, so this would be a single action only. I have no idea why anybody would want to do that because the trigger is just not that good. And that's the whole point of a single action with a safety, is to get just the best trigger you possibly can. So I would leave this in a double single action, because the trigger is just not that awesome. But if it was really awesome, you could, or if you wanted to put like a really awesome trigger in here, you can just convert this over. You can see it underneath there and just run it as a single action only. So what would I pick? Without a doubt, the SIG. There's not even a question in my mind. This is just some franken regurgitation of a CZ75. I honestly have no respect for this firearm at all. I get like why people like it because it's modernized. The CZ75 looks old. All the ergonomics, the styling, everything is just old. This is revamped. But for me at least, and I'm not saying you're the same way, I don't like the P07. Not even a little bit. At the value this comes in and what you get, without a doubt, the 226. That's my pick all the way. Even though I don't like 40, just because it's not that popular. It's not that it's a bad round or anything. This is a hell of a package. If you'd like to check out any of my other videos, click on these two cards right here. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.